Today my guest is Richard Le Bas. Richard is the founder and owner of Sabel Customer Success Solutions. Actually, I met Richard a few years ago, I think right at the beginning of COVID, when he was a rounded customer at the time, when he just started his company, and he got in touch with me and explained a little bit about what he did. And over the years, not only has Richard been a customer of Rounded, but Rounded has been and still is a customer of Sable's as well. So over the years, Richard's helped us with a number of projects to do with our customer success activities and how we engage with customers. And testimony to Richard over that time, he's built a company that's grown, unfortunately too big for Rounded now. So he's gone off to use one of the opposition platforms. But to his credit, he's now an employer. He's building his team, building his capability, and building what seems to be a very successful business. So I'm constantly reminding him not to forget about the little guys when he's employing 150 people. So welcome, Richard. Thanks for joining us today.
No, pleasure. Thank you. Thanks for the introduction. I hope to get to 150 people one day, but I think there's a long way off that yet.
Yeah, awesome. So, whilst one of the first things that I'd like to do, just to kind of understand where the audience is, and I've just launched it, is you guys will see a poll with a couple of very simple questions to answer, just so that we can kind of understand where you guys are at in terms of how you manage customer relationships, and how you're managing lead nurturing, if at all. So welcome, Claudia. Thanks for joining us. So please feel free to jump in and answer the poll, which we'll keep there for a second. But whilst we're doing that, Richard, one of the things that sort of the higher level terms that we're kind of talking about today is customer success, right? It's I don't think it's a new term, but it's a term that sort of generally sort of seems to be centered around software companies like Rounded, but it can mean very different things to different companies. So maybe you can start by giving us a definition of what customer success is.
Yes, for sure. I mean, I'll try. There isn't a set one per se, but yeah, to your point, it's sort of a newish term, and when I say newish, it's been around maybe 8 or 10 years now, but it didn't exist before that. Before that, it used to be broken down into its individual jobs, which was your salespeople, your post-sales people, your implementation or training people, and then once that's so if someone's underway with the product or service, then you'll have a support person who jumps in. And now customer success is all of those things in one job. So depending on size of business, that can be one person doing all those things, or it could be a person doing different parts of that journey, depending on how big the business is. And then you get into arguments or discussions around different businesses treat a customer success person differently. So in some businesses, they are sort of account management focused, and they're sort of really geared towards increasing revenue. So looking after customers, but also trying to make sure month on month or year on year that the revenue is going up with that customer. And then in other businesses, it's more of a customer support perspective, and so making sure the retention is there with people, so making sure they don't disappear, they're still using the product or service, and they're getting value from it, and they're aware of what's new and can be done in the platform, and aligning those goals and things with what the actual customer who's using the product or service wants to do and get out of it as well.
Yeah, I think as far as Rounded is concerned, to me, the most important word there is value. When I think about our team of Michelle and Roxanne, who I'm sure most people on the call today have had some kind of exposure to, what we task them with is getting the customer to seeing value out of Rounded as quickly as possible. And obviously, value can be very subjective, if it often is. So understanding what the customer wants to achieve and working with them to achieve what they need to as quickly as possible is what we think is key to the Rounded experience. So I think if we perhaps just have a quick look at the poll, when we look at the question of what's the biggest challenge in managing customer relationships, Half of the audience have said generating new leads, and then the other half are around managing workload and time and the right tools and systems. And then, interestingly, how do you currently manage lead nurturing? And certainly two-thirds of the audience are doing it manually, and the other third don't have any process at all. So hopefully there's a big greenfield opportunity for us here to make a difference with some people's businesses. Now, again, I'm going to end the poll now. Just for anybody who joined late, we will have the opportunity for questions, Q&A today. But if anything occurs to you throughout the webinar, please pop Q&A questions into the Q&A box, or just use chat, and I'll make sure that the questions are read out before Richard answers them so that everybody understands what's being asked. So feel free to ask questions at any time. Okay, so we've had a look at what the definition is of customer success, and again, traditionally, customer success has been something that's been done, I guess, manually, a relationship-based activity. But of course, over the last few years, I think everybody's aware that we've had the advent of AI and chatbots, and I doubt that there is not, I doubt there's anyone in the room that hasn't had an experience, good, bad, or very indifferent, with some kind of a chatbot at some point that's caused, masses frustration. So I guess it would be, can you sort of share a little bit more about that landscape? How is AI impacting customer success? What's it allowing us to do? What sort of, what are the different applications of it across that sort of customer engagement landscape?
Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting. I think, like you say, I think everybody's had a bad experience. And I guess I'd be interested, and it could have been a poll question really, of have you ever had a good experience with a chatbot? Because it's few and far between, unfortunately, and I guess that's why we exist, to try and create those experiences. But yeah, chatbots, the point of them is to give you the answer as quick as possible. Because a lot of people, there's a lot of platforms, a lot of services, a lot of products that you are out there. You need help, but the documentation is documentation. No one really enjoys documentation. So it's very easy when you see that chat symbol or icon or bubble in the corner of the screen to let's just ask somebody. So the reason that chatbots, and obviously now moving into AI, exist to try and give those answers back as quick as possible. To try and get, like we said earlier, the customer or that person to see the value, or to get on with the thing that they're trying to do as quick as possible. Whether it means giving them that answer straight away and great, they can go with it, or having to pass on to someone like, obviously, Michelle or Roxanne to try and assist a bit further because it needs a bit more deep diving. So there's certain things that's good for. Like I say, things that are sort of straightforward, maybe guiding people with screenshots or steps. Then a chatbot can do that, because it's pretty much the same answer each time, as long as you're having that problem. Whether AI is, I guess, moved into that and plays a part now, it can not only go and look at all of your documentation, say, and then present the best answer based on real, I guess, English. So you can literally just say, here is my problem. Whereas before you would have to pick an option. And so let's take a round as an example. It's like, I want to do an invoice, I don't know how to. And you could say, okay, I need help with invoices and sending an invoice. Then we can go, great, well, here's an article about how to send invoices. Whereas now you have the ability to just go, tell us your problem. And then people can go, oh, I don't know how to do this part, in just whatever sort of English they want to use. Or any other language they want to use. And AI can take that, understand what that person's saying, go and look at all the information available to it, and then present back an answer as well that's customized to the question that was provided. So it makes, again, that a lot smoother and more streamlined to get that answer back to someone. And we're also at a sort of new start. Again, obviously AI is just developing all the time, and I won't go into the big AI conversations, but there's more advancements than ever in this space now. And there are things that I'm starting to implement with some clients where you can say, for example, let's say, again, I'll take Round as an example. If my monthly subscription failed this month because my bank card, expired, then I'll get an email and it'll be like, it didn't go through. Now, I could, in the new world, I can basically go into the chat and say, I need to update my card details. And the AI can understand that and go, okay, well, you need to update them. Give me the information, and I can actually go and update that in the other platform, the payment platform for you. So Michelle and Roxanne don't actually have to do anything. I don't have to go in. I don't have to type anything in. I can just go, here's my details, and it will go, great, thanks, goes and updates it, and off it goes. So again, it's reducing the amount of queries, still answering them, but reducing the burden on your support team, which inevitably ends up freeing them up to do more valuable support for people. So where it's really niche, really, problems that AI or just normal things that don't normally happen, that's the things they can concentrate on rather than a password reset or something simple like that.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. And I mean, I guess that makes sense for perhaps a company, like Rounded, or where there's a huge number of customers that need servicing. I guess what we'll have to come to later on is what that looks like for a freelancer or a sole trader in terms of what they're able to do with technology like that. Now, so. I mean, I think to your point, though, it'd be good to hear from the audience if anybody's had a particularly good or particularly bad chatbot experience. We'd love to know, a little bit more if you can share any of your experiences around, the frustrations or the great experience that you've had trying to use an automated chat service, just so we can kind of understand maybe who's doing it well and who needs to
Yeah,
improve.
that actually used to be one of the questions I'd ask in interviews back, obviously, when I was just getting normal jobs. And instead of, they obviously always ask you a question. But I was like, there you go. Have you got any questions? And I go, yeah, actually, have you got a time where you can remember a good experience? Because it is great to hear those, because, everyone could tell you a bad one. If you've ever had to talk to Optus on live chat, I'll get passed from pillar to post. I'll probably get disconnected 3 times, all this sort of stuff. So, but hearing those good ones are what are really interesting, because it's about understanding what made it good and what is it that customers value, because it's easy to be on the other side of things and go, oh, let me design what I think is amazing. But hearing what people actually value and why it was good, that's actually where the value is.
Yeah, 100%. Now, Rounded uses a platform called Intercom. And again, so when you see inside the Rounded app in the bottom right-hand corner, when you see the little chat icon, that's not actually a feature that we've built. It is third party, and Intercom is very behemoth, sophisticated piece of software. That as far as Rounded is concerned, it allows us to support live chat. It allows us to automate and send in-app messages and emails. And it also houses our help library of all of the content that we have in there. Now, just for the sake of transparency, Richard, obviously you're an Intercom specialist, but you run your own company. So if we just talk about your relationship with Intercom and why you've built a business around supporting customers that use it.
Yeah. So I'm I guess a platinum, gold, whatever color I am, implementation partner of Intercom here in the APAC region. So that basically means that when people sign up to that platform and need help with setting it up, then I get called in. So I come in and we sort of have two things. One, we're experts in that platform, but also we're experts in customer success. And that's why they sort of go together really well, because we can understand a business and go, well, what kind of customers are you trying to get? What kind of customers do you have? What do they need from you? And then making sure that the platform, being Intercom in this case, fits that fits that business properly. It's not a case of one size fits all. It's making sure you pull the right levers so that it fits for everybody. How I got into it is actually thanks to obviously yourself, Oliver. So I think it was 2020, I started my business as a consultancy for customer success, and Rounded was my, I believe, second client that came along, as you mentioned. So I had a first client. I needed a tool to help me with accounting. That's when I found Rounded, because I wanted to be in Australia, so it understood GST and all that I had no idea around. And so signed up to Rounded, saw they used Intercom and reached out and obviously had that conversation. And like you just mentioned, this is 4 years ago, and it was sort of big-ish then. It wasn't as big as it is today, but it was a big product back then. And I helped Rounded to set a lot of things up, as we mentioned. And it was only after, I guess, after reviewing that, you were like, there's probably a good business model in here to help people who are using the same platform. And so I took that on and thought that's not a bad idea. There's probably a lot of businesses who need some assistance in this space, especially from freelancers to small businesses and medium businesses who just don't have the resources or the time to do this stuff because there's so much that you can do, but you just don't know it. So when you sign up to any platform or any you only really sort of go with the things that are either easy to set up or you understand. All the other things you go, I'll worry about that another day, but you never get around to them because you're running a business. So that's where we plug in because we not only know it, but also we are removed from the business as well. So we can just concentrate on making sure we deliver exactly what's needed, and we're not caught up in the day-to-day runnings of those businesses.
Awesome. I think Lee, who's put a comment in, she describes it really well. I think this is something that everybody can identify with. And she says, my frustrations have tended to be in situations where I've had to work out how to word my inquiry to get the answer I want. And if I don't word it the right way, the bot won't understand it. And I think we all know that even when I'm typing into search engines, right? Like the answer to the question is only as good as the question.
Mm.
Right? Or when I know that it's not a stock standard question, that I need to get past a bot to a real person to get the answer, but have to waste time with the bot first. So the amount of times you'll be presented with a bot and you'll just start typing, speak to a human. I'm not even going to bother with the bot. I want to speak to somebody real. So I think, Lee, everybody's probably had
Yeah.
that kind of experience for sure.
Yeah.
Now, let's really begin to focus now on our audience here today, in terms of what does this look like for a freelancer or a sole trader business? Now, first of all, we're talking about two different things. One is lead capture and the other one is nurture and engagement. So perhaps you could start by explaining kind of what the difference is between those two things.
Yep. So kind of goes back to the very first question, I think, customer success. So there's in customer success, there are sort of five pillars. It's called the R methodology. It's like a pirate noise. So they are essentially acquisition, activation, retention, referral, and revenue. So these two things that we're obviously talking about is the acquisition, and then the retention, I guess, on that, and sort of part of that acquisition process as well. So getting people in, whether that's on your website, and providing again information to people who have some questions, and or capturing their information and then putting them into a campaign essentially to provide more information about your business and what it can do for their business, and being customized to their business to potentially get them on board later down the line. So it's not just a case of providing information on the website on that day at that time, but also, whether that's 1 week, 2 weeks, 6 weeks later, having some sort of communication with those people who did inquire, because there's obviously some interest. It might just not be the right time right now. But what I found in running my business is timing is everything. Like when I reached out to you that time, you were like, "Yeah, I have a need." So it's a lot of it's around timing, and a lot of time you get it wrong, but when you get it right, it's great because you get a new customer.
So in terms of for the audience, and maybe you could just let us know, is there anybody in the audience that doesn't have a website for their business? And I don't mean, like a social media account or anything like that. There's anybody that doesn't have their own website. If you could just maybe put, yes or no in the chat, just to kind of let us know, that would be, it would be interesting to know. So, okay, so we're talking about, providing people or potential customers who are interested in my product or my service, additional information or some kind of connection or engagement at the right time. Why would why would a business owner, solo business owner, want to think about automating that? What's the benefits of automating it?
I think, as we saw in the poll earlier, I think two or three people said they're doing it manually, and then the others are not doing it at all. So obviously, if people are not doing it at all, you can see the value straight away, because it means you are doing something. And for those that are doing it manually, it means you don't have to do it manually. So you've got more time back. And no one knows that like ourselves of running a business. So there's just not enough hours in any day. Trying to run a business, never mind trying to have a family or go out and be social and exercise and do all the 50,000 things you've got to do a day. So, where you can automate things that make sense. I'm not talking about automating everything in the world, but where it makes sense. So whether that's capturing that information and then providing information back to that customer because they've done an inquiry about pricing, then if you have a pricing list or pricing information, then there's no point you typing that out every time if it's the same every time for every person. So, if you can provide that back, you've saved yourself probably half an hour of writing something out every time. Or again, if there's just common questions about your services, if you're in, marketing or something like that, oh, do you do SEO or do you do these services, then you could provide that answer straight away rather than having to actually do it. And again, that's just more time back because it's not even just the time that you take to do it, it's the distraction from the thing you were doing to then get into the thing you were doing and then try and get it back to the thing you were previously doing. So yeah, it's not just the 10-15 minutes of replying, it's the half an hour because you've come away, done it, going, trying to go back, and then maybe got distracted again. So yeah, trying to set up those workflows or automations is just a way to smooth and streamline your business, so that you can build that pipeline as well for future down the line.
Okay. And we're going to show we'll get to a demo shortly in terms of exactly what this looks like. But what about, the perhaps a knee-jerk reaction of the audience today to say, well, I'm just a freelancer or sole trader, like this is kind of big business stuff. Like I'm sure it's gonna cost too much. Like I'm just not gonna have the time or the expertise to manage it. Kind of, what have you got to, what is sort of a response to that around, how it might work for smaller businesses, including freelancers and sole traders?
Look, I think there's never a size that doesn't work. I think, freelancers, small business, whatever it is, there's always a place for nurturing and acquisition at the end of the day. Bigger businesses will have people designated to these things. So salespeople, obviously, and marketing teams and all that, it's their job. But as a freelancer, it's your job to do everything. So if you can obviously have things in place that are talking to customers, providing the answers they need, capturing their information, and then potentially providing them on a nurture campaign to become a customer down the line, then that's a process that you've saved. And I've been there. So when you're a business and you're trying to find customers because you need to pay bills. So you get your customer, you're doing all the hard work, you're reaching out, you're doing the proposals, you get a customer in. It's amazing. And then you concentrate on that. But you also can't stop trying to get more customers because you need more customers and the workload's the same. So now you've got to do more, you've got to do what you were doing previously, plus the work you've just got. So you're now having to just work more hours. So it's a sort of battle that you go through as a person running your own business, and where you can then sort of bring in that automation. It means if you got to a point that you're at capacity, then by having this automation, you could actually be in a position you've never dreamt of, where somebody reaches out and say, I want your services. I'd love to sort of get going with this. And you go, actually, I'm at capacity. How about 4 weeks' time? Or how about January next year? And that would be a great position to be in rather than, please, yes, thank you. It'd be a nice flip to be in. And that could only happen because you've already been doing this work up front, because you're bringing them in rather than waiting or sort of working with your customers. They finish up their contract and you go, oh, no, right, now I need to fill that gap again and get back out there.
So it's about consistency, getting trying to get more consistency into a pipeline,
Yeah.
and working to overcome that sort of boom or bust, a little bit
Yeah.
of ups and downs that can be quite common in freelance life. Well, why don't we jump in? And I'm sure everybody's kind of interested to see what this looks like from the back end. Perhaps you can show us how it all works under the hood, and maybe what it looks like on the front end on a website to see some of the different applications of how you might use a tool like Intercom
Yeah.
to nurture leads and engage with customers when you're not like completely there.
Yeah, yeah, sure. So I'll start, I guess, on my website, just obviously 'cause it's where everything is. Um, and so this is just my landing page, and there are things that will trigger. But what I've done is I've set one up. Uh, Plays ball. There we go. So yeah, so I've got this service that I offer people, and then in the bottom right corner, as you mentioned, we have obviously we use Intercom as well. And so, as you can see, hopefully you can see that on your screen, that there is a pop-up now. So what I've designed here is a automated chatbot to say when somebody's on this specific page. So this could, obviously this is just this service for us, but it could be a pricing page, it could be about your services, it could be whatever it is. You can specify that. And so I said, when you're on this page and you've been there for 5 seconds, I want you to pop up with this message. So move myself. There we go. You can see there, that's me sending the message. We can do X, Y, Z. And if you have a question, click below or just say, go away, I'm just browsing. So again, to the point earlier, if you do have a question, you can just jump in and ask that question. So, and then what you'll see here is to do the question, what I'm saying is I want to actually just capture some basic information about this person. So this is part of that lead capturing process. So I have to enter my name, easy as that, and then my email address. So I've obviously got one stored. Now that's happened. I've got that information. Or as a business owner, I now have that information. So I can now take that and put that into an automation where I can start sending messages over time via email. That person can opt out at any time, obviously, for legal reasons. But it's an opportunity for me to be able to actually go back to that person. Because at the moment, as a business owner, actually, I've not actually interacted with this person. It's all through automation. But as we mentioned earlier, I've got things built in to say, ask me a question. What's the best accounting platform in Australia? There we go. We'll see what it thinks. Oh, there we go. See, it just knows. That's the power of AI. So, at that point earlier, you can, you ask a question. If it's not what you need, then you get that option straight away to be like, I need to talk to somebody. None of this whole give me another question. What's the right combination of words that I need to get out of this? And talk to agent, talk to person, talk to human, whatever it is, just get me out of this. We don't do that by design. It's not we're going to do that. It's like that is the option out of here. And when I do that, I'll connect to an agent straight away, just like you do with Rounded, where you can talk to one of the girls, or I can just say that was great, thanks. Or I can do nothing and leave. So I'll show you, I guess, what that looks like from the other side.
Well,
So
just before you do, I might just ask a question. There's a question in the chat from Michelle, which is a good question. And she asks, is it possible to change in the settings the point at which you capture their name and email, or is it always before they can ask a question?
no, absolutely. So I've just done that for this purpose, but absolutely, you can not ask at all if you want. You can just provide the information back, and good luck, and then go great. If you want to talk further, then provide that information. Like I say, you can just not provide it at all, but you can literally put it anywhere, and I'll show that. Yeah, when I go into it.
And maybe just to add to that, Michelle, at Rounded, we don't ask for email or name up front. And in fact, Intercom has this little feature where it gives people that it doesn't know sort of funny little names. However, if you've got a lead or somebody who comes to your website and you don't capture their name or email, Intercom still knows because of their IP address and because of some cookies who they are. So if they come back again a couple of weeks down the line, all of those conversations are captured under the same card. So you can see when the last time you had any kind of interaction with somebody. And if they get to the point where they are, interacting with you, asking questions, yeah, as Richard said, then you can set it at some point. Once you feel like you're more engaged with the lead, then you can set it to ask them for a name and email address, which then again automatically gets added to their card. But I'm probably stealing Richard's thunder
Yeah.
a little bit, but he's there. And Lee's asked the question as well. Maybe you can cover this when you show us what you're going to show us. But can you customize the text in all the buttons and responses, e.g., not use agent as a word?
So yes, I can. I can't customize it to be like talk to Jeff, but I can change it to talk to teammate, and there's about 5 different options I can
Yeah.
select from. Yeah.
Cool. All
Yeah.
right, let's see what it looks like.
Okay, so let me share this. Hoping that's the right screen. Can you see Intercom now?
Yep.
Yeah, cool. All right. So I guess the first thing is this is actually the how to install it. Now it probably looks like a lot on the screen, but
It
it's
does.
it's because there's essentially that many ways you can install it. But the simplest way is to copy and paste, essentially. So if you are, I guess, in that web page space and you understand a little bit about what you're doing, you can copy and paste. What you can even do, and I do this for my website, I'm not an expert in web pages by any means. The platform that I do use, so whether you're using Wix or GoDaddy or any of those builders that do it, there's usually something called snippet injector or code injector. And so that is essentially what this would be. So you can literally, again, just copy this code and it's all done for you. And you just paste that into your tool and it will appear. But for people who maybe are using different tools, so if you're using a WordPress website, there's a plugin for that, or these Google Tag Manager again. So these are just lots of different ways that you can install it, but it's a literal copy and paste situation. So it's actually very easy, or we can help people do that.
So yeah, I was going to say, like, I like to think as the co-founder of a tech company that I know a little bit about technology. I've never coded a line in my life, and I look at this and I go, "There's just no way that I'm even getting anywhere close to being involved in trying to do that myself." So, from a point of view, if somebody's thinking about, getting some help with this, what you're saying is this for somebody who knows what they're doing. This is what, like a 30-second job.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yep. That's it. Yeah, very straightforward. Like I say, the first thing you'll do, obviously, when using a platform like this, like Intercom, is installing this messenger, and it is a copy and paste situation. So as long as, as I say, as long as you know where to put this code in whatever tool you're using, that's it. You're off to the races, and then you can set up the cool stuff. That's all very intuitive and easy to use. Which I'll jump over to. So showing you that stuff there. So if I go, for instance, into my automations and into my workflows, there we go. So rounded, there we are. Get rid of that. And you have to let me know if it's too small, but this is where I've configured it. So as I mentioned earlier, so on a specific page, which is the page we were on, and you've been there for 5 seconds. These obviously are changeable, and this is just what I've set. I could take the time away and just say every time you come to this page, or I could set a different time. Obviously, different pages, I could take it off a specific page, and it could happen on every page. So lots of variations that you can do. And as you saw, that message then pops up, which takes you down this avenue. I did have the other avenue, which is I'm just browsing, which if you did actually pick that one, I would have responded saying, that's not a problem. If you have any questions, obviously you can get in touch, and I can even integrate my calendar into it. So whether this is the right journey for that, but depending on the journeys and the options that you can present people, if you want people to book in a call with you directly, so, I want more information, I want to talk to somebody, book a time here, and it will pull straight from whichever tool, whether it's Google or Microsoft or Calendly or whoever you use. It will know your availability, so it's not obviously going to double up in any of those, and people can book straight in to your calendar. And to the point earlier that was raised about the name and where you ask that, this is where I can do that. So here you'll see I'm asking for name and email. Now I can move this anywhere in this conversation. I can remove it completely and just not bother asking for these things. And what you'll see also here is we wouldn't see this on the front, but in the back in the configuration where I've said, great, asking for that name and email. When that did happen, I then got tagged with this little tag here that I created. And so that would then later be a trigger possibly for that nurture campaign that I mentioned earlier. So by capturing their name and email, wherever that is in this workflow, we can then say, great, now tag them. And when the automation sees that, goes, okay, someone's just joined, just given me their details. Now I'm going to put them into this nurture campaign where I'm going to reach out to them on a sort of, weekly basis to offer my services or to tell them more about what we do.
So I think
Hang on.
this is where Richard helps Rounded, because the number of options in these workflows to build different kind of messages to respond to different types of inquiries is so unbelievably sophisticated that it can get a little bit overwhelming. However, like this is the value that Richard provides to us, and what he does really well and what he's helped us is takes our understanding of our customers and how our customers like to interact with us, and then translates that into a workflow that allows the best customer experience. Because to Lee's point before, if you're building a customer experience that's even a bit too pushy, or it's the wrong place at the wrong time, or it actually that kind of pop-up that stops you doing what you've gone to that website to do, if you get that wrong, then it can be can be counterproductive. But if you get it right, it's actually quite amazing the impact that it can have on a customer experience.
Yeah, exactly. And even to that point, so the platform gives you all of the stats and information around that as well. So if I go back to one that I've been using, obviously for my actual landing page here called lead generation. So we're all trying to do the same stuff. So this is the one that actually happens on my website. So I provide all these different options. You can book in calls with me. I provide information back, pricing, all that sort of stuff is in there. What you're looking for, different options. You can drop GIFs in there, as you can see. You can customize this to be however you want. I've even got A/B testing, which I know Oliver's a fan of. We often do A/B testing to see what works best and resonates with people. So you can see here, this is a very simple, get quick and short to the point, whereas this one has a lot more features for people to pick through or work through. And you can see here how many times it's been sent. So as Oliver mentioned, if we know your details, it'll tell me. But if it doesn't, you get this funny, essentially name where it's just picks a random color, picks a random object, and then based on your IP, where you're from. So I have no idea who these people are, but the charcoal trailer from Melbourne or the Azure cat from Dublin. So I can see that these people came and interacted with the chatbot, or this is who it was sent to. Then the engagement, it breaks it down and goes, all right, how many people engaged with it? And then how many actually completed that journey, and what were their details. So you can see here now I'm actually starting to get names, because to the point earlier, I don't capture their name up front while they start to go through it. But when it gets more serious, that's when I capture their name and details. So that's why at the end I've got these names and where they're from. And I can even look at that path analysis. So I can say, okay, well, who's going down what avenues and what views. So if I look at a different time frame, not one that changed recently, we can see here like how many have gone down certain paths. And so I can sort of reflect on all of this sort of information and make changes over time if things are working or not working.
Cool. Well, we're coming up to quarter two, and I know that we'd scheduled this for 45, and I do want to throw out to some questions. But before we do, Richard has been kind enough to offer a free consulting audit process to anybody who's registered or joined today. So when we follow up with the recording, we'll share Richard's contact details with you. So anybody who's interested in contacting Richard to understand a little bit more about how this would work for their website or their business, Richard will be happy to spend some time working with you on that. But obviously, the question on everybody's lips is, how much is this going to cost? Obviously it's going to be different for everybody's business, but if you're a freelancer like on the call and you're looking to maybe take your first steps, engage some assistance to get a couple of simple workflows built in Intercom without sort of going all the bells and whistles, like what are we talking, and can you talk a little bit maybe about ROI as well, and what
Yeah.
you can expect to get in return?
Yeah, so if you just go and sign up to this tool, you can start as little as I think it's 29, $39 US a month, so nearly $50 a month for the basics, up to sort of for what I guess everyone would need based on what I've shown, up to around 120 a month for more sophisticated workflows and nurturing campaigns that are just sort of showed at the end there. Now, the good thing is, I actually, being a partner, have access to be able to help people save 90% on that as well. So, if anybody, I guess, is interested and he wants to get something like this set up, come and speak to me. I don't have to actually set it up for you, but if you're just interested in getting it, come and speak to me and I can help you get that 90% discount, which will actually unlock essentially all features inside of Intercom, but a 90% discount for a full year. So the you're looking at around 65 US a month for everything that you can do in there. And like I say, you can set up so much stuff in there, and I can help and guide people as well. I'm happy to do that. In terms of ROI, everyone's going to be different. So if you're talking sort of $1,000, $1,200 a year for this product, say, then depending on what your charges are, you could be looking at less than one client, that it could cost. That it would cost to get the return on value for that. So if you're, like I say, if you're anywhere between 1,000 or 2,000 a time for your services, but by having these things in place, then it could actually, pay for itself within a matter of weeks or months. And then everything after that is obviously profit for your business. So yeah, and if you're a lot higher than that, it's a fraction of that. Or if you're $200, then it might take a few clients. But as I mentioned at the very beginning, it's on autopilot. So you're not having to do these things. And when people come in and ask questions or are interested, then it can do that for you. And it saves you that time so that you can be freed up to do other things.
One of the things I didn't actually think about asking you, but I have thought about now is, if there are those on the webinar today who are like, well, actually, do you know what? I'd love to really get into the weeds on this and teach myself how to do it, and learn how to build all this stuff myself. Like, are there any resources out there, like the Intercom provide themselves around sort of tutorials and everything else that people, even if it's just, okay, well, I really want to just learn a little bit more about it before I work out whether or not it's for me or whether I should invest any time or money in it. Is there some stuff out there that people can see?
Yeah, so I mean, I think, or I know Intercom has a trial, so people can just sign up to that. It's free, and start playing around. And it would be ironic if Intercom didn't use their own tools to help and guide you through their own platform. So there is a lot of resources in terms of they will use the product tools. So click here, click that, to guide you through things. There is so much in terms of articles and resources in that way. Plus, they use AI in the chat as well. So again, you can easily just ask questions to it, and it will give you really, really good answers back. So it's a really good way to even try that out to see would it work for you, by testing out that product from within the platform as well. And again, we can obviously, again, even train people as well. So if people are interested in hands-on help, then we can help in that space also.
Great. Okay. Well, look, thanks, Rich. Now, I'll just as we come to a close, if there's any questions for the audience, please put them in chat. If you would like to ask them verbally, then I can. I think there's a button I can click this end that will allow you to activate your microphone. So if you don't want to type, that's fine. But if you've got any questions, now's the time. Based on what we've seen and heard today.
Give them a minute. But yeah, I mean, as I didn't sort of get onto at the end because I ran out of time, probably jabbering on. But the nurture campaign that I brought up at the end, that's an automation that I've put together, which is a case of 3 emails over a couple of weeks, where it will just automatically go through and send those out as weights. You can customize those emails to be from your branding. With your tone of voice, you can drop in elements as well of, first name or business names or any of the information that you've captured as well. So it can be personalized as well. It doesn't have to be a generic. You can customize it based on, again, certain rules as well. It could be if you're in Australia or if you're in New Zealand or if you're in Asia, then send this message. And so again, you can build all that kind of automation into it. It just takes that initial effort, and then you're off.
Cool. All right. Well, if that's great. Well, look, I think the next steps will be to make sure that we follow up with the opportunity for everybody on the call and who registered to be able to get in touch with you if they're interested in finding out more. I'm not sure if we've got any more questions coming. If so, please put them in now. Otherwise, if not, or if nobody wants to ask one anymore for any more.
End of lunchtime.
Okay, no, we've got one. So here we go from somebody who prefers to remain anonymous. And the question is, what are some of the common mistakes small businesses make with their customer onboarding?
The common mistakes, to be honest, are sending communications about the features or things that you care about as the business, not necessarily about what the customer cares about. So, obviously running a business, what your value is and what your perceived value is, but it can sometimes be different to what the customer thinks. And so, in an example of a software platform, you think, oh, you should use all these features, but they're not there for those features. Or if you're a marketing business, you go, oh, well, I'm great at these things, and this is where we could help this customer, but it's not what they're after. They're after something a bit different. So if you can capture what the actual customer is interested in as part of, lead capture or signing up or what it may be, then you can actually customize their journey of communications in onboarding, and that's where they'll see value. So again, as an example for Rounded, if we understand who is signing up because they care about invoicing versus somebody who cares about expense tracking, they're two different journeys. So if you sign up about invoices and we're telling you all about expenses, it's probably going to be wasted. Sure, they need to track them, but maybe they've got another method for that. So understanding that up front means you can provide more value back to that customer in the onboarding stage.
Yeah, makes sense. That's great. All right. Well, look, I think in the absence of any other questions, Richard, thank you for the time.